Good morning everybody, thanks for joining me again. I've come to another Dartmoor woodland. I've been here a few times before and always been impressed by these twisted oaks along this boulder field here and how they almost cascade down off the hill. And then on this side, of course, you've got a little bit of flat ground and some taller, stronger trees, especially in the background there. And it almost looks Tolkien-esque, if you like, almost this battle of these trees coming down off the hillside. So I thought this morning I'd spend a bit of time here looking around and trying to capture that. So let's see what we can find, shall we? So I think my first image is going to be something looking down the path. I want to really capture the difference between these trees over here and the straighter ones in the background. So let's get the camera out and just see what I can find before I put it on the tripod. We've got these really nice trees on the left hand side, the leading line of the path. Let's see. I think that's a shot just in itself. Before it gets too bright as well, you can see the highlights of the sky at the top of the frame. And it's very dark in here this morning, so let's see what settings we need. Got that lovely gnarly tree on the left leaning down into the frame, and then I've got the path leading away just slightly to the right, giving space to the tree on the left. I've got one tree leaning in from the right hand side, hopefully that's close enough, and there's another couple further back. Let's just frame that pathway. Light's not too harsh yet, but as you can see, just getting some light on the tops of these branches here. I've also got a circular polariser on. Just makes the green colours come out a little bit more. I'm at ISO 100, which in these dim conditions has meant that I've got a longer shutter speed. Doesn't matter though, I'm on a tripod. F11 to get a deeper depth of field, and I'm focused in on this branch that seems to come out into the foreground a bit, and I will play with the shutter speed. I'm making the shot quite dark because I know I can recover some of the highlights, but I don't want to blow out the sky too much. I want all that central part of the shot. So that's at 1.6 of a second. Let's try that. 2 second timer. Let's have a look at the shot. So as you can see, I've cropped out the sky at the top to get rid of the highlights, and I've made a real feature of the tree on the left hand side, and there's some nice light on the tops of the branches. And I was also lucky enough to get the sun coming through the trees in the background at the end of the path. And there's just enough dark and bending trees on the right hand side just to frame the shot nicely. Only thing I don't like is maybe on the left hand side, bit empty there, and I could have cropped it in a little bit more, but I didn't want to get the tree too far to the left. Well, I've now framed up a shot looking up at the tree a little bit, but not sure if this is going to work. blown the highlights out in the top right hand side, but I think I can do something with that and show the light shining on the tree. In fact, there is no light shining on the tree. The sun is way off in the distance at the moment. I'm still in a shady spot. Let me show you. There's some really nice light, as you can see over there, shining on the other bank of the river, and a bit further down there the river sort of curves round, but just here where these trees are, you can see it's still in shade. Oh, and the mosquitoes are out, so I'm having to move around a little bit. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm having to kneel down just to look at the back of camera here. Haven't got one of these fancy all tilting screens, only goes one way. Anyway, similar settings as I had before. I'm using the polariser just to get a little bit more green in the shot. ISO 100, f11, and this time it's a 2-second exposure. So this image worked better than I thought, and there's plenty of light shining on the branches of the tree, so having the highlights in the top right just seems to work because that's the source of the light, obviously. I like how the ferns frame the bottom of the shot, and also working your way up, there's lots of interest around the trunk of the tree itself. So this crop is just bringing it in slightly, getting rid of some of those highlights and just making more of a feature of the tree. And it sort of highlights the branches, especially those right in the centre of the shot. And again, lots of detail interest in the boulders around the base. Really moody, mystical shot. So I found another composition I like. Problem with this is, again, all the highlights at the top. Now if I could get a little bit higher, I could get more of the twisted branches at the top without getting the highlights, but I can't. As you can see, I've got the tripod as high as I can possibly get it. But never mind, let's make it a little darker so I don't blow out those highlights, and we'll try that. Well, this is one of those images that just really doesn't work. Attracted by all the twisted branches, you go for the shot and forget completely about composition. Okay, the trunk's in the middle maybe, and you've got some interest in the branches at the top, but there's lots of things around the edges of this image which just confuse the whole thing. Okay, let's move on a bit and see what else there is. Well, I've been on a bit of a hike since I last spoke to you a few moments ago. I thought the only way to be able to photograph these trees and not get the highlights in was to get above them. So I've come along the wood and up into the boulder field. I'm nearly at the top onto the open moor. But here I can find some more gnarly trees and look down just into the woodland. Let me show you. Well, it's also started to rain a little bit now. Well, if I angle the camera down so you're not seeing the highlights as well, you can see what I'm trying to get. Got this lovely tree in front of me and this dead stump here. but it's a difficult shot. If you look over here, you've got this stump here, the tree, and where the branches come up, they cross over. Don't really want that. Oh dear me, I'm getting eaten alive by the midges. But then if I move maybe this way a bit, separate those two, then the tree just behind there is then too close to this one. So the shot's going to be a bit of a compromise. I'm going to have to up the ISO, I think, and then see what shutter speed I can get. Still at f11. There we go. Quarter of a second. Little bit of a breeze with this rain. So where are we focused? Let's have a look. Let's focus in on the fern at the front. Make sure that's in focus. And take the shot. Just like the last one, of course, attracted by these trees and the shapes, which are really nice. There's just no composition to this. The fern in the foreground makes some nice foreground, and the trees in the middle are quite nice, but you've got things like that white patch on the right hand side, which I could have cropped in. I've tried to balance the trees in the background, which works, but again there's a bit more dead space on the bottom left. Not the greatest of images. So let's take a few more of those and maybe try some of the other trees. Okay, I think maybe one last shot of this lovely tree behind me. I have already taken a shot from above, but if you come down the hillside, yes, I am getting some more highlights in, as you can see at the top there, but I'm also getting these branches coming down among the rocks, and I just thought it looked quite nice. And again, I'm using the polariser to get the greens. I could crop it in a little bit more like that, but I lose some of the branches. Sorry if I'm shaking a bit, just trying to fend off the midges. Let's just try that. Where am I focused? Yeah, that looks good. So I've still put the ISO up a bit. I'm at ISO 250, f11, a fifth of a second. Could make that a bit slower, so the shadows aren't so difficult to recover. And just in case I've got that focus point wrong, I'm going to focus in on the rock here. And try that. Again, at some different shutter speeds, get some different exposures. Well, I think I've redeemed myself with this shot. It seems like a nice composition, balanced with the rocks in the bottom, the tree in the middle, and that dark patch of leaves in the top left seem to balance themselves, and your eye is led through the middle of those lovely twisted branches. A couple of things I could improve on: the highlights in the very top left hand corner, I could have cloned those out so they just had more leaves there, and the white rock in the bottom middle of the shot could have made that a little darker. Okay, I think I'm going to call it a day. These midges are just eating me alive on this hillside, and there's a certain game of football on this morning, so time to get home. If you enjoyed the video, Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything. And hopefully I'll see you all again next week. But for now, cheerio.